We're going to start off with examples that are going to convert fractions as a percent. It says you can use a model if needed, and of course, if you wanted to, you could draw 2 out of 10, and notice here how they drew 10 slices and they shaded in 2, but we're not going to do that for this lesson. What we're going to try to do is convert this fraction into a percent, and I want you to remember that the word percent means out of 100, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to create an equivalent fraction out of 100. And our goal is to first write down the fraction. And then I want you to ask yourself, does any factor times 10 give me 100? So if you're going through your Rolodex of like multiplications, you're saying to yourself, oh yes, there is something that gives me 100. It's 10. 10 times 10 gives me 100. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 2 times 10 would be 20. And that would be your percent because you got it out of 100. Remember, percent means out of 100. We just did that. Whatever your numerator is, that is your answer. It is 20%. Let's go to the next one, 3/4. Now, with 3/4, we all know that 4 quarters equals $1. So we know it's possible to get 100. All you have to do is ask yourself, what times 4 gives you 100? Type it in the chat box. What factor times 4 gives you 100? You're right, it's 25. And 25 times 3 is 75. There we go. We have our percent. 75%. Here's another question. It's 7/20. Again, you're trying to see, can I get 100? Because if I can get 100 on my denominator, well then all I do is, whoops, I don't want a highlighter. All I do is then multiply that factor that got me 100 to my numerator. So we go, 20 times what factor gives you 100? Go ahead, write that in the chat box. You're right, it's times 5. So 7 times 5 is 35. And since it's out of 100, we know we have our percent. It is 35. Don't forget the percent sign at the end. Last but not least is 11/25. Whoops, I got a little bit big. Now you're going to say to yourself, what times 25 gives me 100? And I know you're already thinking, oh, there's a quarter. If I had 4, that would give me $1. So 25 times 4 works. Make that an X. And all you do is now multiply 11 times 4, and you guessed it. What is your percent? 44%. The question is, a lot of kids might ask, well, what if I can't get a number to give me 100? Listen, the denominator does not work that way. It just doesn't work. For instance, what if I had 3/12? Here you are all excited to get 100, but you go, wait a minute, wonk, wonk, wonk. Nothing times 12 gives me 100. Then my question to you is, can you change this into an equivalent fraction by simplifying it? And then perhaps getting a denominator that will actually work. So if I simplify 3/12, wouldn't you get 1/4? Yeah, you do. And then my other question to you is, well, doesn't that work? Doesn't something times 4 give you 100? We already discussed that. 4 times 25, we discuss it here, it gives me 100. So you multiply this by 25, and now we have the percent, which would be 25%. So first you might say, I gotta simplify. Then once I have a number that I can actually multiply by another factor, I can then get my percent.